What a roller coaster for PayPal this week. So up plus 15% after earnings and lost all the gains in the following days. So we are going to review today the PayPal earnings. I made a photocopy for mine, and today we are going to deep dive into the figures for PayPal to see if the earnings and the business of PayPal is still very, very good, or if you should actually avoid this value trap. So let's start with the figures and the latest Q3 2025 earnings for PayPal. So what we have seen is that PayPal actually delivered a very solid quarter, not fantastic, but very solid quarters, with actually revenue growing by 6%, total payment volume growing by 7% on an FX neutral basis. And so in terms of EPS also growing by 12%. So this was actually a very good quarter, I would say, for PayPal, especially showing a slight growth, but slight profitable growth. And so the market today is actually not pricing much for PayPal given the valuation where it is today. And so it was actually very interesting to see these figures, but much more important than the figures, it is to actually see the internals and the different segments that they have to see that PayPal is actually turning around, the ship is actually turning around, and people are today missing this very point, and this is what we're going to see today in the numbers. But first, let's start with their TPV, so which actually shows like how their different businesses line or different business line performs. So if we start with the branded experience, so which represents actually 31% of their total payment volume, but it was growing at 8%, which was actually very solid, not fantastic, but very solid. I think that it was slightly above the estimate of different analysts. We have also Venmo still reaccelerating with 14%. Last quarter it was plus 12%. This quarter is 14%. So we are still seeing that PayPal is capitalizing more and more on Venmo, and that this is translating into these figures. So branding checkout online is actually decreasing. Well, not really growing, I would say. So growing by 5%, but the peer-to-peer and other consumer growing by 11%. I think the most important part is, and this is what was said by Alex Chris like in the previous quarters, that we are seeing a reacceleration of the payment service provider part, which is actually Braintree. So last quarter it was growing by 2%, and this quarter is growing by 6%. So basically Braintree, as you might know if you have followed like the previous earnings of PayPal, so the management decided to actually review all the contracts from Braintree because they were not as profitable as they would have liked. So the previous CEO actually tried to push growth at all costs, and especially like pushing Braintree at a very, very low profitable margin. And the thing is that now they are reviewing all their contracts, and they are starting to actually regrow the business in a much more sustainable and profitable way. And so what we are seeing today in these numbers with the reacceleration with plus 6% growth year over year of Braintree is that the ship is turning around. The TPV for PayPal is actually growing plus 7%, which is actually good, but not fantastic, especially if we compare with other opportunities in the market. But the point here is that in terms of TPV, we are seeing a reacceleration, and this is what you should actually take away from this. Okay, so going on with those figures, so we have seen that TPV growing plus 7%. This translates in terms of revenue on an FX neutral basis of a growth of plus 6%, and transaction margin dollars, so basically their gross margin also growing by 7%, which actually is still pretty in line with the overall business growth of PayPal. But what is very important is seeing that the non-GAAP EPS growing by 12%. So what does it mean? It means that the effect of buyback actually translating into this EPS growth, because basically what we are seeing is that the management has been able to reduce the share count by around 6%, and on the other side, so we can infer a growth of net income by around 6%. So the combined effect of these two things is give you like an EPS growth of plus 12%, which is actually pretty good. And if this continues like this with PayPal at these prices, so we are definitely going to see almost like a double in the next 5 years in terms of EPS for PayPal. So this is, I think, one of the best case for PayPal, and today they are delivering on these promises to grow EPS much faster than they are growing revenue. So definitely very, very good to see that this strategy is actually translating quarter over quarter in the numbers, and we are going to see also like in the guidance that they are giving for fiscal 25 that they are projecting plus 15% in terms of EPS growth. So definitely very good from PayPal. Last one also on the free cash flow. So last quarter, free cash flow was actually very low. This quarter, the free cash flow is actually very high. So that's not really the point, because what we are seeing is that they are reiterating the guidance for fiscal 25 with free cash flow around 6 to 7 billion. So there is nothing new here. But definitely what we are seeing in this figure is that basically PayPal is continuing to operating exactly as they predicted, and the management is actually showing us that they are actually knowing what they are doing. Okay, so now let's try to project ourselves forward. So what we have seen is that the management revised the guidance upward, and I think that this was a very positive sign. Unfortunately, this has not been picked up by the market, at least not in the stock price. And so what we are seeing is that transaction margin is actually remaining very consistent at remaining very consistent. So they are projecting 5 to 6% growth, and definitely what we are going to see is actually a growth of EPS on a full year basis, so by 15 to 16%, which is actually really great. And so basically, like the non-GAAP EPS that they are forecasting is around $5 or $5.4, which is actually good. And if you look at the stock price today, so we are around like 13 to 14 times price to earnings ratio, which is actually pretty, I think pretty fair, and also pretty cheap for a business growing actually EPS by more than 10%. Having said that, so I've seen also a lot of discussion around the fact that PayPal could not sustain this type of growth of EPS if the stock price is actually increasing going forward. Well, so if the stock price actually doubles, so it means that basically the buyback here is going to be cut in half, so going from 6% to around between 3 to 4%. But still, I think that PayPal is going to continue to grow its net income and its operating income by 6 to 8% at least going forward. So with this cut in half buyback here, so you can definitely envision that even on a long-term basis, even if PayPal doesn't do any improvement, they are still going to continue to grow their EPS by 10%, and this is definitely going to command a higher valuation than what we are seeing today. So I think the market is definitely pricing too much pessimism in this name. I understand that this is not the most exciting names, because PayPal has actually a very stable but very low growth at 6 to 7%. So this is not very exciting, but still, I think that they are still a pretty good business generating very consistent and stable cash flow. And I think that given the business that they have today, this is still a very good opportunity, especially at this valuation. Okay, so everything that we have discussed today is basically based on the current state of PayPal and the fact that they are doing what they have already been doing for the past few years. But what people are also overlooking is that on top of the turnaround in their main business, in terms of the turnaround and reacceleration in Braintree, for example, that are going to actually put the stock higher going forward, definitely, they also have a lot of optionality. And this is something that I really like about the name. I think that there are three main optionality that I really think that are going to actually give growth to PayPal going forward in the next few years. So the three are for me the agentic commerce. So we have seen a lot of deals from PayPal with Google, with OpenAI, for example, with Perplexity, to try to be the number one wallet for these different agentic commerce solution. So definitely PayPal has been able to position itself very well in this field, and I think that this is the future of commerce, definitely. And I think that PayPal is going to benefit tremendously from that, and the fact that they have been able to position themselves in such a big way for agentic commerce really shows that there is a lot of opportunity there. Of course, it's not going to materialize significantly in the numbers in the next few quarters, but when people realize that this is going to actually accrue to their top and their bottom line, like definitely we can see the valuation reappraise very fast from there. The second one, I think the most, I would say, promising in terms of short-term and mid-term contribution to the bottom line is definitely ads. So I think that there's also a huge opportunity for PayPal ads today to actually find a place for itself in this very competitive world. But I think that they have a good small business here with PayPal ads, and I think that they should continue to develop it. It's going to be very actually profitable for them, and the fact that they have so much data in terms of what customer purchases is giving them a lot of advantage compared to other solutions. So I think PayPal is going to have a solution which is going to be very comparable to Amazon ads, but in a slightly different way and a different scale, obviously, but with the same type of advantage that they have with their platform, but also with the checkout data and the real purchase data, which is actually very good. And the third one, which is actually basically the crypto and the stablecoin business, definitely I think that the trend in terms of stablecoin is going up and up. Well, it's maybe a little bit too much hype today, but the reality is that it's going to be used much more going forward. So what we are seeing is that they already have their own stablecoin. This is not, I think, the most popular stablecoin out there, but what we can actually hope is that it's going to drive the margin up, especially by providing much cheaper solution. And I think that PayPal should actually go even further into this next gen growth vector, especially with crypto, because a lot of people are using crypto. So I think that they should develop much more this area of their business, and also with the brokerage business. I don't know why they don't have like something like Robinhood or like Coinbase in the PayPal world. I think that people, they would definitely love to have that, especially if you combine that with Venmo and PayPal. This might happen actually in the future, but I think that the next growth vector for PayPal could actually come from that, and this will be very synergetic for the business. So I think that if they can develop this aspect of crypto and stablecoin, and also add on top of that a brokerage business to their basically wallet, I think that they're going to become first a huge powerhouse in terms of commerce and financial, but also like they're going to see a pretty significant reevaluation, because today I still think that the stock is cheap. So having said that, so what's my takeaway from that, and what's my opinion on PayPal? I think that PayPal is a very, very huge opportunity in the market. Why? Because there is so much pessimism in the name. A lot of people are actually overlooking the fact that they are reaccelerating. So their core business, especially on the Braintree side, is going to reaccelerate. The EPS growth is going to continue to be there. So they are going to continue to actually grow EPS by double digit, with or without buybacks. And the fact that also now that they have a small dividend, so maybe new investors are going to coming in. But I think that when PayPal is going to actually start to run, it's going to surprise a lot of people, because there's so much pessimism today in the stock, and there have been such a base in terms of consolidation, that I think that when PayPal starts to actually become a little bit more popular on the market, we are going to see a double within the next 5 years, definitely for PayPal. So that's my opinion, obviously not financial advice. If you're interested in other videos like this one, please check my other videos, please subscribe, and I see you in another one. Bye.